As you can hear from my accent or my grammar mistakes, I am not a native English speaker. I'm coming from Russia and I could not even keep a basic English conversation going until I turned 19. Then I had my first breakthrough moment, and right now English is an essential part of my daily life, and actually the only reason you know of my existence. I often get comments on my channel like, Niki, your English is great, yo Niki, how did you learn it? And comments about my pronunciation, that it's not very good and I have to improve it, and that I actually have to speak slower so you can understand me better. So in this video I'll talk about how do Russian people learn English, what difficulties we face and why that heavy Russian accent exists. I will also get a bit personal and share my story of getting from London is the capital of Great Britain to whatever level I'm having today. Well, first of all, I was born in Russia and I lived in the city of Omsk until I turned 19. And even though Omsk is a huge city, it's the second biggest city in Siberia, you barely can see or hear any English in my hometown. Seeing a real foreigner in my hometown was, I don't know, winning a lottery was more likely than seeing somebody English speaking when I was a kid. The amount of English we exposed to in Russia is significantly less than, let's say, for people in Germany or in South Korea or even here in Vietnam. Yeah, we study English at schools, but that doesn't really make any big difference because education in schools related to foreign languages is bad. Yeah, let's talk Russian schools. That's the first place when kids face foreign languages in Russia, and we basically study 11 years. 4 years for primary school, 4 years for middle school, and 3 more years for high school. When I was a kid, I got my first English class at grade 5, and honestly, I loved that. That was super easy to pass through, that was no pressure at all, and the teacher was pretty beautiful. Having English classes was like having a break from real subjects that we should study hard at school. And exactly same feeling I had about my English classes when I was a university student. So right now I speak English to you, but none of my teachers, not at school, not at university, none of my teachers could have any credits for that. My classmates and I, we didn't really learn anything but just basic vocabulary. We also didn't get any motivation to learn and improve our English from our teachers. I really hope that schools do better now. And I actually found this year's class schedule of my school, literally my school that I was going 11 years straight, and right now Russian kids start studying English at grade 2 twice a week. At grade 6 and middle school they start to learn it 3 times a week, and they even study German once a week. And at the last grade of school they still study English for 3 times a week, not German though, it disappeared at grade 10. So apparently Russian kids study more English nowadays compared to what I had when I was a student, but that doesn't say anything about the quality of their education. Mine was terrible and I wouldn't be able to talk to you this way, but fortunately I found my own way to study English and also found my own motivation to do that. And motivation is everything when it comes to learning a skill that requires a lot of time and effort. I'm so terribly bad when it comes to practicing diligently. I'm bored really easily, and perhaps some of you might relate about it, I don't know. But learning something with a textbook or a teacher never worked for me in the long run. Learning by doing is more of my type, so I taught myself English and Mandarin Chinese and this YouTube thing and quite a few other skills that I have in my life just by doing something fun about it, especially for English and Mandarin Chinese. My real teachers, they were my foreign friends and YouTube and language apps and lots of TV shows and movies. Basically, if you want to improve a language you learn, you have to speak it every day and listen to it every day, at least a little bit, but every single day. And here I have a personal story for you, but first let me share a word about today's video sponsor. That might be useful for somebody studying foreign languages and seeking more ways to practice it, because our today's sponsor is Lingapie, a platform that helps you with learning a new language through TV shows and movies. They have a great library of original content, and which is super cool, they also have integration with Netflix, so you can learn a language by watching selected Netflix shows and movies. That's something what I did for learning English and Chinese. I watched a lot of stuff, and when I saw a word that I did not understand, I made some notes about it, and then I practiced it every now and then. And on Lingapie you can just click the word you don't know and it shows you translation and how to pronounce this word. After watching a video you get a set of words that you picked, and then you can practice with flashcards and quizzes. There are a few other cool features, like you can loop the sentence if you want to listen it over and over again, also with reduced speed, but my favorite is saying a sentence and getting a score on how well you said it. There are 8 languages available now on Lingapie, and let me try some of them.
Ich habe noch nie was erreicht.
Ich habe noch nie was erreicht.
Ich habe noch nie was erreicht.
Baka bagaji. Baka bagaji.
Baka bakaji.
Yo lo que quiero es amar, amar.
Yo lo que quiero es amar.
Yo lo que quiero es amar. 100 points for Spanish, wow! You can get Lingapay using my link in description, and there is a special discount for my subscribers. Also, they offer a 7-day free trial, so it's safe to give it a try and understand if that's something that you need. Now, a personal story. So yeah, story time. When I was a kid, I was fortunate enough to go abroad first time in my life when I was 9 years old. That was Turkey, and it was literally the first time when I heard any foreign languages around me. That was super interesting. That trip didn't really change my ability to speak any languages. That time I didn't even start to learn English, but it kind of showed me that the world is much bigger than I saw around me. It wasn't just my neighborhood anymore, even not just my hometown, not my country, but the entire world. I saw something different in my life. When I was 14, I had my second international trip to Egypt. So Turkey and Egypt are two really popular places for Russians for their vacations, especially the time when I was a kid. I don't remember much from that time, but I think I already knew some basic English vocabulary, and I might say something during the trip, although also no big difference in terms of my ability to speak languages. The real difference came when I was second grade student at my university. That was my first real interaction with foreigners. One day, sunny afternoon, I was skipping my classes and going to my father's company office just to deliver some documents, and I saw two Chinese girls. Basically, it was the city center and they were lost and asked for directions. I tried my best to communicate to them, and the conversation was bizarre. I couldn't speak much, I could just say hi, and I was pretty good at maps, so I just showed them the general direction of where they need to go, and they thank me and say that there are a lot more foreigners hanging out around in their group of friends. They came to my hometown to volunteer, to teach English in Russian schools, unfortunately not in mine, but anyway, and they invited me to join their party somewhere away, so far away from the city center, and I was like, that sounds fun, I gotta do that. And that absolutely random meeting with these two Chinese girls kind of changed my life a lot. I got to the party full of Russian people who could speak English. I got to know a lot of foreigners. All of them were about my age, student age. All of them arrived to Russia to volunteer, to teach English to Russian kids. And that was what? You're really coming to Omsk to do that? But apparently that was a real thing, and a huge international organization, ISAC, got them to my hometown. First time in my life I got a couple of foreign friends, and next half a year every single day I was speaking so much English that I got from the level when I couldn't talk normally about even the most basic things to the level when I could keep a normal conversation going. And that kind of ruined my life. I mean, I could have an average slow life in my hometown in the city of Omsk, I could graduate from my university, serve in Russian army, find a job in my major, which was political science, get a wifey, basically have a life that most of people in Russia have, but instead of that I learned English, I got foreign friends, I met my first Chinese girlfriend and decided to drop out my university, and then moved to China to get 1-year Chinese language program, which happened exactly the year when Russia annexed Crimea, and basically all my money just disappeared, because Russian ruble lost a lot of value that time and I could not pay for my 1-year program anymore as I planned. I wanted to stay in China to learn Mandarin Chinese for 1 or even 2 years, but instead I only had enough money to pay for 4 months of classes plus simple dormitory. Still, that was a great time. My English improved a lot, and I also learned to speak some basic Chinese, conversational level, and after all, when I ran out of money, I found a white monkey's job. I was teaching English to Chinese kids, and I was doing it for over 4 years. This white monkey job is kinda interesting phenomenon in China, and this guy, LaoY86, explained what is it exactly. For me, that was easy money, an interesting daily life, and also opportunity to travel more and to improve my English and Chinese languages. Again, kind of learning by doing. And maybe someday I'll record a video about my life in China. Comment if that's something that you'd like to hear about. And now let's talk about the last bit in this video. Russians in general, and why is it so difficult for us to learn and speak English? And also, how can you replicate that Russian accent? Yeah, let's actually start with Russian accent because it's pretty simple. First, you read every single consonant strong enough and remember there is no silent consonants in Russian accent. And second, master pronunciation of TH. Sometimes we pronounce it Z, like the, there, and sometimes it goes like S, like thank you, to speak. Also, master pronunciation of W. That sounds just like very strong V. World, work, wonderful. By the way, that's the Russian accent that made my videos go viral for the first time in December 2020. I will show you my very first viral video that's super short.
Things around you that scream you are in Russia. Beautifully designed balconies. A metal fence to protect you from baddies. Surely legal parking blockers and healthy cottonwood trees.
I think the accents like Russian illustrate the difficulties in learning a foreign language quite well. For example, in Russian language we just don't have some sounds that you guys have in English, therefore it's really difficult to pronounce it correctly. I'm pretty sure that some sounds, some words I mispronounce a lot. Actually comment about that if you heard me mispronouncing anything, it will be really interesting to hear and learn that about myself. Go guys, don't be shy to correct my English. But the difference in sounds or language structure is actually not the biggest difficulty to learn English for Russian people. I see a bigger problem. From one hand, in Russia we don't really have enough opportunity to practice English in daily life, so many people think that English is kind of useless to learn, especially people who live in smaller places away from our capital. And from the other hand, our lovely government makes stuff to lower the amount of English we are exposed in our daily lives. Often we have some ridiculous ideas from our politicians. Some of them offer to completely cancel English classes from our school. Other politicians offer to make English an extracurricular activity, while right now English is kind of mandatory and every single school student in Russia learns that. And in some Russian cities it's literally illegal for businesses to have English signboards or have English in their advertisement. That's ridiculous, and that's also the end of my story today. If you enjoyed this video, go like and comment, you know that it helps YouTube channels to grow. See you next week. Спасибо and пока.